Hello, everybody. Dan Tomaszewski here. Hope everybody's doing great on this Tuesday afternoon. Well, depends on where you're located, right, guys? Chris, Colin, you guys are on the other side of the world, different time zone. What time is it there right now?
For me, I'm in New Zealand and it's 6 a.m.
6 a.m. Yeah, that's a good start, right? Good early start for you.
Yeah.
Chris, how about you? Where are you located?
Yeah, I'm actually in Vancouver, BC, and so it's not such an awful time for me, thankfully.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm very excited to have you guys here today. We have a great event lined up for everybody just rolling in. We'll just wait another moment for others to join us. We're going to talk about chaos to clarity, best practices in data migration. We're also going to talk about a new tool that you guys have. So I'm very excited to talk about that when it comes to email migrations. And so kudos to you guys for that. That's something that just was launched, right?
Yeah, no, recent release on that one. It's really available. You can jump into MoveBot, and yeah, looking forward to kind of sharing how we bring that same magic that people love about our file migrations into the mail space as well. That's
awesome. So let's kick things off. So we have both Colin and Chris here. Why don't each of you give a quick little intro on yourselves? That'd be great.
Cool. Yeah. So I'm Colin. I look after the sales and really work quite closely with Chris. Really excited to be here on Everything MSP, and I'm just really here to help if there's any other questions and so on. But really, Chris is the person that's in working the product and one of our solution architects. So I'll hand over to Chris.
Chris is the man, right?
Yeah, g'day all. G'day. Thank you so much for having us again, Dan. It's been a minute since we last spoke, so it's good to catch up again. And pleasure to be here. As Colin mentioned, I am Chris Roy. I am a solutions architect here at MoveBot. I'm located in Vancouver, BC, and I've been here since about 2018, pretty much since Couch Shop's inception. And so yeah, my main job is working closely with our partners, our MSPs, and making sure people's data gets where it needs to go, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when we talk about data migration, just the subject, you begin to sweat, right? Because it's something that if not done right, if not done with proper tools, can be definitely chaotic. And we want to make lives easier for us as MSPs to be able to do a very seamless move of client data. And just like anything, we want to be able to do projects such as data migrations. We want it to be seamless, rock solid, and we want to be able to wow our clients. But that's not always the case, is it?
That's spot on, Dan. It can be a little bit Wild West out there in some instances. There's a myriad of different approaches that you can take when doing data or moving data around, and it's really important that you understand kind of the key components of what's involved in that, and how to best plan for that. So yeah, really looking forward to diving into that with you.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and kick things off here. You should have ability to share your screen there.
Perfect.
And we'll get started. There we go.
All right, you can see my screen now.
Perfect. Thank you.
Wonderful. All right, perfect. So as you mentioned, from chaos to clarity, best practices for moving data. Let's get into it. Got a bit of an agenda here. So we're going to run through a brief introduction to kind of who we are and kind of how we came about in this space. get straight into our best practices, a few different kind of key components there, and then a little bit of a status update regarding the kind of mail side of things and kind of moving beyond files, so to speak. And we'll finish things off with a little bit of a Q&A at the end there.
Perfect.
Wonderful. So who we are CouchDrop. CouchDrop is our parent company, and we are a Kiwi-based company. So Colin and most of the team are based out of Christchurch in New Zealand. And our goal simply is to build incredible data tools for techies. We came around 2018 and kind of adopted pretty much globally at this point. CouchDrop is really focused on cloud SFTP and MoveBot data migrations. So MoveBot obviously sort of came from CouchDrop, and that came about due to realizing that basically a lot of customers were trying to use CouchDrop, our cloud SFTP platform, to move pretty large volumes of data. And for anyone that's tried moving a couple million files with the SFTP, it is not recommended, and it really wasn't designed to handle that. So that's kind of where MoveBot came about. So at the moment, we've really kind of focused on file migrations. So we do on-prem to cloud, cloud to cloud, tenant to tenant, and nice new little extra hidden feature at the end there that we'll touch on with the mail side of things.
Yeah, and absolutely. Like, if we go back to that side, I'd love to do a quick poll of our audience, and I'd like to find out what kind of migrations do you primarily deal with. So let me go ahead and shoot this one over here. Go ahead and launch that. And so, doing migrations, of course, each of these, has their own, uniquenesses to them. I guess what I'd like to find out from you is, what are you seeing most? I would say it's a safe bet to say on-prem to cloud is going to be, still very hot. One of those top forms of migration. Would that be still correct?
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of comes down between, or it'd be pretty close between cloud to cloud and on-prem to cloud. I think you still have a lot of people who have held off the cloud adoption for a while, and kind of just been biding their time with file server licenses and support contracts in place there. And so you have people like kind of a nice trickle of people coming through on that front. And then cloud to cloud as well, you have people who were maybe early adopters of cloud technologies, realizing, okay, maybe they have slightly different needs, or other players in the space have kind of come up with things that would benefit their organization, and so they may be making a transition to a slightly more refined and optimized environment for their kind of business needs.
Yeah, and what I've seen in those cases, the cloud to cloud is, a lot of times where there's maybe a default IT person in an organization that maybe we're taking over, or maybe they're had dealt with someone in the past that was managing their technology that wasn't really putting a lot of thought into what the needs were for that client. Or simply the fact that the client may have grown, and their needs may have changed, and so there are those situations like that where going cloud to cloud definitely makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, you can kind of see some of that reflected in this poll, looking at the results. A lot of on-prem to cloud stuff there. People kind of moving forward and taking up that adoption. Also some cloud to cloud there as well.
Yeah. Very good. Let's go ahead and move on to the next slide there.
Yeah, perfect. So you mentioned headaches before, and that pretty much kind of ties nicely into this kind of legacy migration. You hear the word migration, and it's anxiety. A lot of failures. You're kind of doing everything all in one go, a bit of a big bang approach, and big support queue come Monday.
Right.
Anyone who's kind of worked in IT long enough has felt that, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, those are the type of things that you just hope that things are going to go right. You have to put all those processes in place, but that anxiety definitely jumps up.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we kind of realized that actually there needs to be a little bit of a simpler way, a better way to kind of move forward in this space. And so that's where our kind of best practices come in. And we've kind of refined this over our period of time, working with our customers, going through these migrations, and kind of understanding exactly what goes into it. And so that can kind of boil down into these three things. So you've got plan, advance, and cutover. And so we're going to drill into a little bit about what each of these kind of steps entail, and how they tie into your migrations.
Excellent.
So planning. First
Kind
thing,
of important, right? Kind of important.
yeah, it is step one. Before you come in all guns a blazing and start dragging and dropping your files from one place to the other, it's really important to take some inventory. And you'll see right at the top there, first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to back up your data. Despite our name here at MoveBot, we do actually just copy the files. So we aren't editing the source platform. Regardless of this, it is really important that you take a backup of your data. You want to make sure your business assets, your personal data, whatever it is that you're moving is safe. When it comes to taking inventory, it can be quite difficult, especially at the large end of things, to actually understand exactly what you have. So with MoveBot, you can make use of our discovery scan, and that basically will give you an overview of exactly how many files, how many folders, the distribution of files, how large they are, and give you a much better picture of what you actually have. Often you'll have a look in some of these platforms and it'll say, you have X amount, but actually the way they calculate that includes, a myriad of things that you don't actually understand. And so the total in terms of actual volume of data that's necessary to move can often be a lot less.
Yeah, because ultimately, it's like a black hole, right? In digital world versus physical world, physical world, you take a look at a file cabinet, you're able to open up the file cabinet and take a glance and see, what are you up against. In the digital world, it's that black hole where you don't know necessarily what's out there. You don't know what kind of challenges there are, regardless of whether you've been managing this account for some time or not. There could be challenges that you're faced with that you just don't know until you go down this path.
Yeah. So that's really where this kind of inventory step comes into play. It gives you that actual, real picture of what is going on. It'll give you information around what sort of permissions you have in place. That's a really important thing to keep in mind when you're doing these migrations, is that, it's a great time to review your permissions. Maybe you've been managing this account for 10 years and you've got people who still have access to stuff that they no longer need. Being able to have complete visibility over exactly what data you have, where it is, and who have access to it is really crucial. And the same goes for archive data. Maybe you have a bunch of data that you no longer need. Cloud storage in particular is heavily incentivized to keep you storing as much data as possible in there. It's you can store indefinitely as much as you like, but you have to pay for that, and maybe you don't need to. Maybe there's some stuff that can be moved to cold storage or a lower cost storage medium.
Right, absolutely. Again, it goes back to that, that out of sight, out of mind. You don't see, you don't see the cloud bursting at the seams, like you do
No.
in the physical world. So
Absolutely. So what are the gotchas? There's going to be things that come out of the woodwork in this inventory stage. This is a great time to kind of understand what your timeframes are. Once you kind of get a bit of a picture of, okay, this is how much data I've got, and here are the sort of challenges, you can start putting in place timeframes. I, in my time here, have seen both ends of the spectrum. I see people come to us and they say, hey, I've got 20 terabytes worth of data and I need it moved in 4 days because our licenses are expiring for our cloud storage and we just want an exact replica. Please don't annoy our users.
right.
And conversely, you get people who have maybe been planning for 6 months and they haven't even taken an inventory yet. And so, it's kind of making plans about things that they don't actually know. Whereas, if they took an inventory, they'd have a much better idea of how to get started. So, understanding timeframes is really crucial.
Yeah, and the whole planning phase is just so critical. And I'd love to use analogies, and I liken this to somebody buying new paint, and right away they get home and they're ready to slap the paint on the walls without, taping things up and, putting down, any kind of cloths to protect the floor. You got to put those steps in place. And that's so, so critical when we're talking about this movement of data. Because the implications to the client could be substantial, and we don't want to, have that kind of disruption. Now, there are a variety of things that could happen. I'd like to throw a poll out, so I'll throw a poll out. It's actually going to be a two-part poll. I've got 2 questions here. So the first poll that I have is, what are the most common challenges you face during a migration project? And you can select up to 3 of those. And then secondly, the second question we have here is, how much data do you migrate over a 12-month period? So if you could go ahead and pick one of those there as well. Yeah, no, planning, right? You can never plan enough.
Yeah. I mean, there's the planning phase is almost always going to be the biggest piece of the migration. We like to focus on getting most of the hard yakka done in the planning phase, and then come time to actually transfer the data. We want that to be as snappy as possible. That should be a walk in the park and just be over and done with as soon as possible. And so yeah, you'll find that planning and actually preparing your migration is usually what will take the bulk of that time.
Yeah, it looks like the majority of our audience said downtime and disruption. Actually, that was number 1. And tied for second place is resource constraints, as well as data transfer speeds. And definitely those data transfer speed scenarios play a lot into that, and should really be factored in when you're taking a look at a project. It's a critical aspect of it. We do have a question out there. Mike Davis has a question. What kind of file conversions do you run into?
Yeah, I mean, probably the most common one out the gate would be people going out of Google. So people have been working in the Google sphere for some time. They're deciding that they need to move somewhere else, and they need to migrate those Google Docs out. And so that's probably the most common conversion. But there are conversions across pretty much all of the major players. Everyone kind of has the odd file type here and there that is platform specific. And so it's really just handling those situations. Dropbox has paper, for example, and Box has Box notes. So these kind of platform-specific file types that just need to be ported out to something that's yeah, a little more manageable on other platforms.
Yeah, and when you run into those scenarios where they're proprietary like that, I mean, are there cases where you have to throw in the towel, or is it for the most part something that you can manage and actually accomplish it?
Yeah, you're kind of beholden to vendors with
Right.
what they expose and what they allow you to do. For example, some platforms you might be able to pull it out into a generic type, but maybe not quite the format you're looking for. So I think, for example, box notes we pull out in a JSON format, and it's not the most practical, but that's what Box will provide. And we do that because JSON in particular is an unstructured format, and so we don't want to go adding a third-party kind of conversion on top. If something changes on Box's side, we could end up doing something to that data that is not what should happen. And so we like to stick with what the vendors provide for their export functions, and are kind of beholden to what's available there. So yeah, there are some times where you have to throw in the towel, but generally speaking, most providers offer a pretty good service for getting data out.
And that's great when they do, just because obviously it helps with your view of who they are and what their product is, versus maybe catching you in the web and they got you, right? Nobody likes to be put in that kind of position.
Yeah, no, I think that's been a big talking point for people through this cloud adoption period has been that vendor lock-in and ensuring that they're not going to get a few years down the line and find that they're stuck in the mud.
Right.
Perfect. Yeah. So most of the stuff on this page, sanitization requirements, file conversions, MoveBot basically handles all of that stuff out the gate. We really like to try and make it as straightforward as possible. In some instances, you will kind of encounter platform limitations as well. It's really important to kind of be aware of, where you're coming from, where you're going to, are there differences in what they provide? Most platforms exist for different reasons, and so it's crucial that you kind of understand what the implications of that move are or will be. Sorry.
Right.
Awesome. So time to advance. We want to move the data in advance. We want to be focusing on moving the data while users work. This is going to help minimize this disruption and downtime. That was we saw from this last poll just now, that's the key thing, is minimizing downtime and disruption. Being able to move your data while users continue to work is a huge benefit to the migration, and ensures that gives you the option to handle failures before cutover. You can review the results of your migration and verify things, make sure that everything is happy, and it removes that big bang stress as well.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, just that whole process of being able to continue to work during this process, during this migration. I think most clients expect that. They expect that there is going to be some level of that, so they are not dead in the water. Of course, when you're talking about enormous amounts of data, you really can't do many of this or much of this just after hours, right? Just because, sometimes it's just massive amounts of data.
Precisely. So, you see this slide here is 11.8 terabytes. I think most people can see how trying to smash that out in a weekend with a tool on their local laptop or machine to try and pull that data down and shift it across either by hand or with some of the other DIY tools. it's going to be a bit of a struggle to get that across. And that's only 11 terabytes. It's a different story when it's 110 terabytes or higher.
Right.
You're just not going to get that done on a weekend. I should put an asterisk there because this next slide, I just wanted to talk about speed. So obviously, you might think, well, maybe we can't move data quite that quickly, but maybe it is possible with the right tool. So we have a very clear understanding that time is money in the business space, and that means speed is king. So with the migrations that we do, some of the large vendors or platforms that we see migrations to from, some average speeds that we might see in our migration tool here. Google to Dropbox, you might get 10 to 30 terabytes per day. Something like SharePoint, you've got a little bit more rate limiting to deal with on the SharePoint side. Microsoft's pretty strict with their API side, but 2 terabytes per day. And at the really high end of things, if you're working with super fast block storage, we've seen people ending up with over 250 terabytes in a day between S3 and Azure Blob. So while I wouldn't recommend trying to smack out a 250 terabyte migration in a weekend, in some instances you just might be able to.
Incredible amount of data. We do have a question out there, and we'd like to bring Colin in here to answer this one. There's a question in regards to, let me just read this here. Can MoveBot migrate a Citrix VDI environment to use FS Logic? And Colin, you got audio there?
I have, yeah. I was just having a look at that. To be honest, it's probably I'm not that familiar with FS Logic. Chris, do you know?
Yeah, I haven't had too much experience with FS Logic, but there's no native connector for it. With MoveBot, basically, there's about 30 different platforms we support natively. And then beyond that, we can pretty much move anything that can either be mounted to like a Windows machine. If you can mount it as a mapped network drive, we can access the data that way. We can also access the data if it's accessible via SFTP or also via the S3 protocol from Amazon. So even if we don't necessarily have a native connector for it out of the box, there are often these sort of compatible protocols that you may be able to access your data that way from. So there's a few different options there, and if one of those mechanisms doesn't work, you can always chat to us, and we often implement support for new platforms. So we'd love to hear from you.
Very good, thank you. So with that being said, we've taken a look at moving from advanced to cutover. So let's talk a bit more about the cutover in that process.
Yes, spot on. So for the cutover phase, when I'm running migrations, once we've kind of staged the data and moved everything in advance, we want to use incremental deltas. Now, if you're familiar with deltas, basically what they allow you to do is to copy any new or updated files from the source, and that's going to simplify the cutover. So you can get the bulk of your data moved over, you can verify everything, you can run through the failures, you can make sure that everything looks good on the destination, and then when you actually come time to cutover and you need to bring your users across, you can just focus on bringing over those changes. So you might have a 15 terabyte migration, you move the bulk of it, and then come cutover weekend, you've only got a few gigabytes to move over from the last week where changes have been made. Again, this is really to help minimize that downtime and disruption. It's going to reduce the support queue. It means you can kind of take a look and verify that everything's going to be working before you let users loose on the destination.
Right, and I would assume, each platform, whether we're coming from one particular platform and moving to another, obviously, we're gonna have variations as far as, those type of changes, correct?
Yeah, it really depends kind of how your business operates, right? Maybe you're in a media space and you've got quite a lot of changes coming through regularly, and there might be large files. If you've got people working on video files and pushing new changes regularly, maybe those deltas will be a little higher, and you may kind of choose. The beauty of deltas is they can be run as many times as you like. So you may choose to run one daily up into your cutover, so that again you're only bringing the daily changes across, and you're not ending up with a few hundred gig to kind of push if you've got larger files you're working with.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
There are kind of a couple of caveats to be aware of with this. When I'm doing a migration, I want to make sure that the data has kind of been synced or seeded to the source no more than about kind of 2 weeks prior to the cutover. If I'm getting the source data into the destination earlier than 2 weeks before cutover, it's just quite a long period to kind of keep running deltas. And the reason, or where that gets complicated, is that a delta is basically just checking the source platform for files. And when it encounters a file on the source, it checks to see if that file exists in the destination. If it does, it performs a last modified time comparison. And so where you can run into issues is that, if you rename a big folder on the source, that's going to be copied again, because we're going to look for that folder on the destination and we're not going to see it. And so you might end up recopying a large chunk of files if you leave it for a long period of time, and renames or deletes or move operations happen a lot on the source platform. 2 week period, people don't really make big changes like that in a short period of time, unless there's a big restructure happening. So keeping your time from your seed to your cutover down to about 2 weeks is kind of about the optimal time period that I've seen in my experience.
Okay, makes sense. And everybody, if you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and throw them in the chat. We will do some Q&A at the end, but as we're going along, feel free to throw those questions out there.
Wonderful. Coming to a bit of a summary of the best practices. Basically, moving data is easy. We really like to keep it simple, simply pack and go. So, getting into the juicy bits. I mentioned earlier on at the start, we kind of touched on the fact that there are some new changes coming to MoveBot. Yeah, so we've been hearing from our community for some time about this sort of stuff, and yeah, our focus for until now has pretty much been on delivering an unparalleled experience when migrating files. And as some of you may have heard, that is changing. So we've introduced Mailbox Mover. Yeah.
Yes, this is very cool. When when I got wind of this, just recently, I was very excited to see that you guys have this coming along. So just taking the power of the MoveBot product and moving it over to those mailbox migrations.
Yeah, it's something we've been hearing from customers from pretty much the outset. Especially MSPs. A lot of our customers are MSPs. We really focus on trying to deliver a really quality platform that enables them to move data easily and efficiently. The most common question we get on calls is, would be showing them how we move files, and they're like, "This is amazing. We love it. Do you move emails?" Because of course, especially when you're moving platforms, you're lifting and shifting your organization from Google into Microsoft or something like this. there's two components to that migration. It's not just the files. You are going to have emails, and yeah, it was definitely something we got a lot of feedback on. So you know, after we really kind of feel like we've started to get a great handle on the file migration side. We're pretty happy with you know, the best practices, and that we've got that pretty well locked down. And so we're really excited to sort of bring those modern data moving principles into the email space as well.
That's great. You know, clearly, you know, in the process of you know, as I mentioned earlier, there's so many scenarios. Of course, taking on new accounts, you know, depending on what they have in place, you know, making a change in platform, you know, can be part of those you know, those questions. You know, so during that assessment phase, identifying strengths and weaknesses in a client's organization, you know, often we find that you know, maybe they're working in Gmail, and you know, and leadership says, you know, hey, this is not how we've always worked in the past. And so, you know, we want to move to an Office 365 environment. So that's definitely great where you guys come into play there.
Couldn't agree more. So this is a little bit of an overview of where things are at with mail migrations at the moment. And yeah, a little bit of an introduction. You know, for the longest time, you know, the email space has really been kind of user orientated and focusing on mailboxes as like as objects themselves. MoveBot, you know, we come from a file migration background and working with files. And so we've kind of flipped that on its head a little bit. And so we move emails exactly the same way that we move files. And there's a bunch of really cool stuff that sort of enables for users is, you know, no more do you kind of have just a mailbox, and that's the sort of deepest you can go. Now you can, you know, move individual folders, subfolders, and restructure that mailbox. And it's integrated directly into the same sort of pipeline as what I've just been through with the best practices. And so now you can, you know, you don't just have to move emails from one email provider to another. You can actually move bidirectionally between mail and storage providers as well. So you can basically take a snapshot of your emails into storage and then revert back as well, and mix and match.
That's awesome. So there are multiple steps, multiple phases to your rollout of the mailbox mover. Can you go over, you know, so what those phases look like for you guys?
Absolutely. So the kind of current state of play is there's beta support out for 365, Google Workspace, Exchange, and IMAP. These are all available out the box, and you can jump in and you can go have a play with these today. The beauty of this is that there's also no per user charges. So you're not paying for a per user mail migration. Kind of gone are the days of that. It's all just by volume. So focused on the volume of data that you're moving, and yeah, just ensure that you can, you know, make the most of everything there. For a bit of a 3-month roadmap, we've got email support currently. Up next, contacts, calendars, and tasks. So these are in development at the moment and should be available within the coming couple of weeks. And then we're kind of moving onwards and upwards from there with sort of really extensive metadata filtering, so that you can you know, reduce the volume of emails that you need to move. You can, you know, be quite specific with the data that you're targeting as well. And from there, it's just a case of expanding and iterating. You know, we've you know, gotten to where we are through the feedback from our community and hearing what people are looking for. And we really hope to kind of hear from everyone around what they'd like to see next in that pipeline. What tools are actually going to make their lives easier as MSPs and help them serve their customers better.
That's great. So if anybody has any questions, please throw them out there. A couple of things I want to mention is you guys are going to be at IT Nation coming up next month. And so Colin, you'll be there, right?
Yeah, I'll be there. Chris will be there as well. So if you want to come and meet us in person, that would be awesome. And also we've got a few other team members, including Michael, our CTO, Georgia, who's our customer success manager, and Dallin. And if anybody's been following our LinkedIn profile, you'll have seen Dallin in a little video recently where we're having a little bit of fun with launching the mailbox side of things. But yeah, we're really looking forward to catching up with people at IT Nation. We're in booth 118 in the startup area. So, and I believe you'll be there as well, Dan.
Yeah, I will definitely be there. I look forward to meeting you guys in person and chatting more about this. Some pretty exciting stuff. I know, just when you take a look at your mailbox mover product and adding that in and just trying to, make the life easier for MSPs. That's the name of the game. And in true fashion, what I love is that you're moving that data no different than how you're moving other data, and so you kept that in mind. So one other thing I wanted to mention too is you guys do have a deal available for MSPs, and if you go to the everythingmsp.com website and go under the deals tab, under more, there's deals. You guys are giving away 500 gigs free for MSPs. And so how can an MSP use this and take advantage of this?
Yeah, you bet. So the beauty of this is you can actually jump in. You could do an entire email migration for that. You get complete access to the tool. It allows you to use those credits across both file and mail migrations. And so, it's really up to you. If you've got a small migration coming up and, you're looking for a new platform to sort of help out those file migrations, or maybe expand the business so that you can get into that market. We often talk to people at some of the conferences we've attended where they say, we actually don't do that many migrations, mainly just because of the headaches, that anxiety, that stress that it causes, and they've just been burnt before, and so they really don't want to have to risk it again. This deal is great. It gets you in, gets you the opportunity to try the tool. As I say, despite our name, we do just copy the files. You don't have to worry about anything on your source platform being impacted. You can just jump in and have a play.
That's awesome. I appreciate you guys offering that. And just in the last few minutes here, I just wanted to talk a little bit about just the whole movement to serverless environments. You're seeing more and more clients that, or MSPs, I should say, that are moving their clients into that, in that direction, eliminating the on-prem server. And this is just a great tool to be able to make that process easier. I could only imagine and suspect that you're seeing a big uptick in that.
Yeah, indeed. It is definitely one of those things, as people are seeing sort of, especially with the work from home side of things as well, post-COVID, people do need a way to securely and easily access their files from pretty much anywhere, and that's what the cloud is sort of offering to them. No longer do you need to have kind of janky VPN setups to get into the office.
Right.
And access the files. It sort of streamlines that process for your end users and ensures that they can they can achieve all of their business needs wherever they are in a secure manner.
Any examples of some, unique use cases, something that's outside the norm that we might think of from a data migration that you guys have worked on?
Oh, that's an interesting question, Dan.
Yeah, and I put you on the spot.
Yeah.
Just popped in my head here as far as, hey, while we're at it, let's ask this question.
Yeah, there has you've talked there about the migration to the cloud. We've also of late and for different purposes had instances where we've migrated back to servers.
Okay.
And when you sort of dig into that, it's not necessarily because people are leaving the cloud as such. It's just that maybe for insurance purposes, once a week, once a month, someone wants to bring that data across. So an interesting use case that one of our partner MSPs brought to us was exactly this, where they on a monthly basis will use you'll use MoveBot to do that lift and shift initially out of the cloud environment back to the on-prem server, and then use the deltas that Chris talked about, through maybe once a week or once a month to just bring across anything that's changed. Now, we're not a sync tool as such. All we'll do is we'll bring any new data across, but there's the customers are still operating in the cloud environment, but they've got this essentially backup from, and that the driver there was the insurance companies. So, right. So we built, as a result of that, we built some extra scheduling in the Delta to accommodate that. So that's kind of a reverse of where you think you're going with it. So yeah, so that's an interesting one. I mean, Chris might have other ones. I know that we've done some pretty high pressure ones, but yeah, Chris has been involved in some of those, but yeah, so that's just an example.
Yeah, any other ones, Chris? Or I mean, because that one is, the reverse there.
Yeah. So I think it's all kind of variations on the same thing for the most part. There's small nuances here and there. Sometimes you get people kind of coming in with unusual file systems that they need to kind of mount or access in a specific way to get the data out. Can be a little bit of fun trying to mount some of those and get them set up. Outside of that, we also see people coming in with sort of half-baked migrations. Maybe they've tried a few other tools before, or they've tried DIY method of just drag and drop or something like this. They find, oh, actually, it's a lot harder than it looks. It didn't go as planned. We need someone to come in and kind of clean up the mess and handle that. And so MoveBot, with the combination of the discovery scan and the Delta functionality, is really well positioned to help people out in that situation. You can basically take inventory, not just on, hey, I've got this data that I'm trying to move, but take inventory of what do I have in each environment? Where am I at currently? How far through this migration did I get? And what do I need to actually get it over the line? And so MoveBot is perfect for that, kind of coming in and picking up the pieces. And we like to think that, the experience that they have from there basically leaves them with, oh, actually, it really doesn't have to be that hard.
Right.
Next time I can just get it done in one.
Yeah, and I think past experiences we often feel as if are going to repeat, which isn't the case. If we always have to pivot, right? When we've done something in the past and it hasn't worked the way we anticipated, instead of pulling back, you pivot, you identify a better tool like MoveBot that can make that process easier. And so that's great to mention, and that's where that 500 gigs, that special offer, the free for MSPs, really comes into play. Just give you a taste of how well the tool will work for you. so that you've got a great partner, for whether it be a current project right now or a project that might be coming up down the road. Now's the time to just kind of queue it up and be prepared for it.
Absolutely. And if anyone's keen to get a bit more of an understanding, or they're a bit anxious about kind of figuring out how to make use of a tool like that, that 500 gig, you get access to myself. You can chat with Colin. We're here to help you out and make sure that you have the support and confidence that you need to kind of move forward with these projects and really deliver a solid platform that is kind of just another screwdriver in the toolbox.
Right.
Something that's going to be there when you need it and will be reliable for years to come.
That's
awesome. So, go ahead, Colin. Go ahead.
Sorry, one thing I was going to say as well, Dan, is one of the great things through this year is we've had the opportunity to come and meet people in person at various events in the US, particularly, and in the UK. And one of the things that really comes across is MSPs love the support and love that connectivity. So we've, if you visit the website and the partners page, there's links to join our public Slack channel and also a Discord channel. And that way you're going to be communicating directly with us. And those are pretty closely monitored, and we just, we love to give the support there and just help take the fear, make it easy for people. And that's just another way of connecting with us.
That's great. So more than a tool, but a partnership, a true partnership of, being able to help ensure the success for MSPs. I love that. And really appreciate you guys' time today. Chris's contact information is there. Got both of his email address and his LinkedIn profile. Be sure to reach out to him. You can find more information directly at couchdrop.io, or you can also find information on the everythingmsp.com website. If you look for their business profile, you can find that. And you can also find their deal when you go under the More tab, go down to Deals. You'll be able to find more information about them. Gentlemen, as always, I enjoy speaking with you guys. Looking forward to see you guys a little bit more than a month, and we will talk to you guys soon. Everybody out there, thank you so much for being here with us today. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to everyone soon. Take care.
Thanks so much, Dan. You have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan, and thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye.